Hello, my name is Andy and I am the village idiot, and I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. Welcome back to the district of Selby, and I'm starting this one in what looks like the middle of nowhere, but I'm stood on an old railway bridge, and this line that I'm currently on top of, as you can see, no longer exists. We have a row of trees that way and a row of trees that way, and this railway bridge is really good as well because this gives us a clue, if you didn't know what line this was, as to which one it actually was, and it comes in the form of this on this side of the bridge, HBR 3/123. Now I don't know about the numbers, but I certainly do know about this bit. HBR stands for the Hull and Barnsley Railway. It used to run right here underneath where I'm standing on this bridge through the parish of Walden Stubbs. Walden Stubbs is a small rural village and civil parish in the Selby district of North Yorkshire. At the 2011 census, the population was less than 100, so the details are included within the civil parish of Womersley. Situated close to the border with South Yorkshire and north of Doncaster, it is 7 miles southeast of Pontefract. It lies close to the River Went, which defines most of the southern edge of the parish. The village is mentioned in the Domesday Book, where it's described as consisting of 7 households and 2 ploughlands. The name of the village could derive from one of 2 sources. It's either from the Old German Waldin or from the Old English son of Walda. The second part, stubbs, is the Old English term for tree stumps. Walden Stubbs is sometimes written as Stubbs Waldin, and indeed on road signs you do see both iterations of this. Some refer to it as Stubbs Waldin, whilst others use Walden Stubbs. It's interesting to note though that to the north of Womersley is the parish of Cridling Stubbs, which is one we've already had a look at, suggesting that the iteration should be Walden Stubbs as opposed to Stubbs Waldin. Either way, it makes no difference, the village isn't about to change anytime soon. As far as change goes though, the village was historically part of the West Riding of Yorkshire until 1974. The Friendship Estates at Old House Farm is perhaps the largest of the employers out here. They specialise in animal feed, and in general, Walden Stubbs is a village which relies heavily on agriculture. A village of very little, it doesn't even have the most basic of amenities, and as such, there's no section for that today. It does still have a parish notice board though, which is more of a village notice board, and notice how this is referred to as Stubbs Walden 2. It was looking a little blank, it has to be said. If you wanted to buy a house here, the few that are on offer in this place sell for an average of £349,000. This is perhaps the largest and most grandiose of the buildings in Walden Stubbs. This is Stubbs Hall, or sometimes Old Hall Farmhouse, a 17th century structure with some 19th century alterations. So as you can probably tell, there's not really a lot to Walden Stubbs, with a population of less than 100 people and a lot less than 100 houses as well. There isn't really much to tell you about. That doesn't mean that the place doesn't have 1 or 2 interesting features though, and let's have a look at some of those next. The former Hull and Barnsley Railway ran through Walden Stubbs, as we found out at the top of this video. The bridge, HBR 3/123, is even marked on the map as such a feature of the village. There isn't much left of the line now, it's just lined with trees, but the bridge is still in pretty good condition. It is, however, termed a weak bridge by the signs leading to it from both directions. We have, of course, met the Hull and Barnsley Railway before. This was a line that opened on the 20th of July 1885 It had a total projected length of 66 miles, but never actually reached Barnsley, stopping a few miles short at Starefoot. The line that passed under this bridge was the main line, and there were two branches, both of which we've met before in other videos. It's worth noting this main line was the same one that ran through the western edge of the parish of Gowdal in the East Riding of Yorkshire. Here's the River Went, which defines that southern boundary with Doncaster and with South Yorkshire. The Went is pretty fast flowing at this point and quite deep in places. Walden Stubbs is one of the places where the river is regularly monitored for its level. It usually doesn't exceed 1 metre in depth, but it broke all records here in 2007 when severe floods caused it to swell to 2.2 metres, a record which is still yet to be broken. Here's the former Walden Stubbs Methodist Chapel, which for a long time was overgrown and derelict. In 2006, a photo on Geograph linked below shows this. However, these days it's been converted and renovated and is now a fabulous family home. One unique feature of Walden Stubbs would be the two level crossings it has, which aren't far apart from each other. In fact, if you stand at one crossing, you can see the other crossing quite clearly in the distance. The railway line these belong to is the Asken branch line, which carries freight. It's the same line that we've met before in both the Norton and the Asken episodes of the Doncaster series. Whilst what I wrote in those episodes was correct, the line does indeed connect Doncaster to the Aire Valley power stations of Eggborough, Drax and Ferrybridge. Passenger trains from London King's Cross to Bradford Interchange also ran on this line until very recently. The line also carries the occasional diverted passenger train from the nearby East Coast Main Line. Regardless of what traffic is using it, it's frequently used. In fact, whilst on my visit to the village, the crossing barriers would come down no fewer than 4 times in the space of an hour. So that's a pretty unique feature, isn't it, to have two level crossings so close together. You can see Walden Stubbs, or Stubbs Walden South level crossing over there as you go over Stubbs Walden North. And something else about Stubbs Walden North, which I'm just going to have to trust to look, basically, that the barriers don't come down right here, is this little sign here that says Stubbs Walden North. The south crossing doesn't have that, so yeah, that's something unique to this level crossing. There you go. So there's no amenities here in Walden Stubbs. It doesn't have any churches, there's no schools, there's not even a shop, there's nothing of any note really. It's just basically an area full of farmland bounded by a river with a railway line running through it. That's pretty much it. And as such, there's not really anything to give you in terms of a picture bit today, because everything I've covered is effectively it. The only things that you haven't seen are things like fields, but I'm pretty sure that would make for a pretty boring picture bit. So there's no picture bit in today's video. But what I'm going to do just to finish this one off is I'm going to put the camera on the dashboard of the car, and I'm going to drive from Walden Stubbs North level crossing through the village around to the south before heading back towards Womersley, just to give you an extra sort of feel for the village, as it were. But I think I've pretty much shown it in all its glory as it is right now. So there you go. So we'll do that to finish, and that'll be the parish of Walden Stubbs down. Okay, to round this one off, I'm here at the sign. I'm going to call this the village sign. This is what I used for the thumbnail because Walden Stubbs doesn't really have its own sign. I couldn't find one anyway. I think it's too small to warrant one really. Notice how it's called Stubbs Waldin here. The parish name is actually Walden Stubbs. So the village maybe goes by the name Stubbs Waldin, but I think it's just generally accepted it's known by both. I've always known it as Walden Stubbs and not Stubbs Waldin, but whichever way round it is, that's the parish we've just covered. And I hope you've enjoyed it, even though it's a really small one. Not really much to see, but what we have seen I think has been quite interesting. Now, if you think this was small, wait until next week, because the next video in the Selby series is it's that tiny. I'm about to go there now. It's that tiny that I'll be surprised if there's a minute's worth of footage. I'm serious. A lot of that one will be just me talking over some pictures, because a lot of it I won't be able to access. Anyway, I'm going there now. This has been the parish of Walden Stubbs / Stubbs Waldin, and I've been Andy, otherwise known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.